2, 3, 4.
Dobraya Utra, my brothers and siostray. On this, our 31st episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. Strap yourselves in, folks, because today we have a holiday to celebrate, fun-filled updates to share, and a spoiler-free discussion about spoilers ahead of us. And regardless of how it turns out, or Patrick edits it, we will survive. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we continue discussing the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and play. I'm one of your hosts, the Brazilian mountaineer with a mild case of dementia, Lucas Ham Swisher. With me also is the judge, jury, and executioner of fake news and spoilers, as you will discover, Patrick Novosel.
Good morning.
Also with us, a volleyball savant who can make anyone laugh in 3 words or less, Ronnie Johantis.
Hi, everybody.
And our final member of our quadfecta, the man with music in his heart, Doctor Who on his brain, and La Coretta in his stomach, Marc Abouche.
Except for tonight, because I didn't have La Coretta.
Spoilers. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And spoilers, even if we are coming at you today from multiple time zones and cultures, we hope to bring a good morning your way over the next hour or two. If it's not your first time, welcome back. And more spoilers. Stuff happened. Spoiler-free spoilers are headed your way, and we hope to do it in 2 hours or less, maybe. Probably. We'll see. We're not making any promises.
I feel like after this podcast is over, you're going to make me hate the word spoiler.
It's quite possible. But before we continue on, I want to wish you all a happy National Library Workers' Day, which is quite appropriate because you guys have whispered so very much over the past 15 minutes. Happy National Library Workers' Day, or Happy National Library Workers' Day. It's a day to honor the hardworking shushers and Dewey Decimal devotees who helped develop our literary and reading skills during our childhood. I don't know about you guys, but my librarians in school were always little drops of sunshine. Not really. Shout out to Mrs. Royce, who gave us the death stare if we mispronounced library as library throughout elementary school. And also a shout out.
How are you supposed to say it? It's library?
Library. There's 2 R's separated.
No. That's correct.
By
Real
an
news.
A.
Don't try and fancy it up, son.
It is not a
Library.
fruit. It is not like a fruit room where you pick something from a bush or something. It's not a library. It's a library.
It's a library.
Tells lies.
Every time my son says library, I can hear her staring at me all the way from West Virginia. Also a shout out to my high school librarian that I can't remember her name, who introduced me to the Harry Potter book series and let me breeze through my senior year as one of her library assistants. How about you guys? Any shout outs you want to give to your librarian workers?
Shout outs to my wife, who is a former librarian worker herself.
Oh.
Yeah, she was in the library here at Liberty University for several years before she went on to a different department. But that's ultimately what she, I'm pretty sure, still wants to do with her life, is to be a librarian.
And now you're her library assistant, if you know what I mean.
Correct. For life, y'all. If you get what I'm saying.
Patrick and Ronnie, any librarians you want to shout out to?
Shout out to Shyla Novosel. She was my librarian.
That's right.
I don't know any librarians or really remember my librarians' names.
Well, as Arctic Warlocks would say, fair enough.
I think I remember my elementary school librarian's name was Mrs. Miles, I believe.
All right. Shout out to Mrs. Miles. We know you're listening. Well, with that, we'll just carry on. And let's just jump right into what's new news, sharing any and all personal or public news that got our attention this week, starting with Marc Boucher. Tell us something good, brother.
What? I'm first.
You're first.
Okay. Well, so this week was pretty much the huge. So I won't go into that too much, but some highlights of the week. So my wife and I decided to get into the Netflix television show Umbrella Academy, which is fantastic. We are very much loving the show so far. I think there are 10 episodes. There's only one season so far. We are 7 episodes in, so we only have a few more episodes to go to finish the season. But it has been fantastic so far. Just loving all the characters, very relatable characters.
What is that show?
Well, without getting into too many spoilers, basically the premise of the show, and here's the elevator pitch.
Let's hear it.
Bunch of kids that were basically born on the same day to women just randomly getting pregnant. Yes, that's the storyline. Are actually born with superpowers. And this old man, basically, he's like very rich. He basically adopts 7 of these kids and assembles them for his own little sort of superhero fighting group to save the world. And he kind of messes them up along the way.
Messes them up? Like me hitting a kid with a car, or...
No, messes them up psychologically.
That's worse. Never mind.
Probably both do that.
And so it shows their story in the past and in the present when they're grown up.
Wait, where do the umbrellas come in? Like, are they training them to use umbrellas as weapons, or
is this a Resident Evil side story?
I imagine they all look like Mary Poppins, every single one.
they're like, we're here to rescue you, and they come down on their umbrellas. That would be
absolutely incorrect. So I don't know the exact reason why they call it the Umbrella Academy. The only reason I can think of is they are basically touted as a superhero group that is designed to protect the world from evil, or in other words, protect from a rainy day, aka the Umbrella Academy.
Are you saying rain is evil?
You know what I mean.
That's a pretty big statement.
You just gotta
Farmers
follow
would
the
disagree.
Metaphor. You just gotta follow the metaphor. Don't even worry about it. But anyway, but it's been fun. All the characters on the show have their own unique personalities, their own strengths and weaknesses, and we're having a lot of fun with it. That's about all I can say without going too much into the actual show. But we love it, and we can't wait to finish it. It's one of those shows where we kind of find ourselves like watching the episode and we're like, oh man, we gotta watch the next one. Oh man, we gotta watch the next one. Oh my gosh, we gotta watch the next one. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Cool, man.
Also, highlights on the gaming front. Been playing some Borderlands with Mr. Patrick, which has been fun. We continued pushing the needle a little bit on that, which we need to get back into that. But anyway, it's just great to be back in that world, especially it's making me even more hyped for Borderlands 3, which is officially announced to be coming out in September. So I'm super excited about that.
Real quick, let me know what I don't remember the character names, but what characters did you guys choose as your characters?
I don't know if they have actual names.
It's a stupid way to ask that question, but yeah. What type of character are you?
Yeah. I think we're basically both soldiers. Because we both have
That's the one with the turret, right? Yeah. Yeah, man, you can't go wrong with the turret. Like,
absolutely.
You just plop that puppy down and then go to another side, flank people and stuff. Yeah,
for sure.
That's good stuff.
For sure. But yeah, it's definitely getting me more hyped for Borderlands 3. Which is coming out in September, and also pretty exciting that they're actually doing console crossplay with Borderlands 3. That's going to be awesome.
Wait, what? So we can play Xbox and PS4?
Correct.
Together?
Correct.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yep, that is official.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But in any case, pretty excited for that, and we're having a great time being back in the Borderlands world for sure. I never actually, like I said, I never finished the first game, so it's good to actually go back and finish it. And then of course been playing a lot of Apex Legends, with Chris McCracken and our own Sheldor from the community, and some with Patrick as well. I've been having a horrible time. I love playing with Chris McCracken, but at the same time, every time I play with Chris, I am always the first person to be found by enemies and shot.
I'm pretty sure he's been telling them where you are. I think that's what he told me.
He's been working against me. No, and I always hear the, "Oh, Mark," and he starts giggling. He's like, "Oh, you did it again." But that never really happens when I'm playing just with Sheldor or just with Patrick. It's always when Chris jumps in. I don't know why, but
Conspiracy.
Yep, I'm telling you, he's rigging the whole thing. I don't know how, but he's doing it. But I mean, those are the real highlights of the week for me. Other than that, it's been business as usual. Patrick, how was your week, sir?
So my week did a few things. My family actually went camping for a couple days without me, which was awesome, by the way, because I don't really enjoy camping. I mean, I'll go with the fam for a couple times during the year, but my wife loves the outdoors. She just loves going camping and doing all the camping stuff. But for me, I don't know if you've heard that Jim Gaffigan bit where he talks about camping, where it is worthless. Like basically, it's like,
all right.
It's like, well, I mean, like, why go camping when like they invented the home? That's the whole point.
Yeah,
so people don't
that's
have
true.
to sleep outside.
Point
The only
made.
reason I have a house.
Yeah. But yeah, so my family went camping. So while my family was camping, I decided to make a little trip of my own. And I went to go hang out with old Ed Placencia for a few hours and play a little bit of
Ooh, buddy.
Overcooked on No Work Friday.
Nice.
Which was fun because I've never traveled that far. I mean, it was like 3-hour drive just to play a game to where we could just do some couch co-op. And we're in the day and age where we can just co-op through the internet online and do all that stuff. So, but it was fun to actually to take a trip and see him and hang out with him for a few hours. And then I came home because I was going to go see a movie with my buddy Chris, and we ended up seeing Shazam.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Shazam, one of the greatest superhero movies of all time.
Really?
If I had to rank all superhero movies and lumped into one, it may crack the top 5. It was
I can get on board that train.
It was that good. There was action. There were jokes. I mean, it felt like it was like the jokes of like the Guardians of the Galaxy, where you would have like a serious moment, and then there would be a joke just to lighten the mood. It was absolutely well done. It's not like they were going through and just like pushing jokes for the sake of saying a joke. It all felt natural. So yeah, that was an absolutely great movie. And then lastly, my daughter and I, we have our dance class on Sundays, and this Sunday we started learning the parent dance, where all the parents get up and they do their own dance. And this year, like in the past years, we've done dances like the MC Hammer dance, where you do the dance from Can't Touch This. This year, I have to learn the worm.
Oh,
I've
man.
never done the worm before.
I remember trying to do the worm back in middle school, and I thought I was going to break my back.
So the first time I
awful.
tried to do the worm, I hit my chin on the floor. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
The dead worm.
Please tell me that you're going to... you know what? Never mind. I'm going to talk to Mel about it. I'm going to see if she can live stream this daddy-daughter dance.
So I had her take a video of me practicing the worm.
Are
so
you
I
serious?
have a video, and I'll post
Nice.
it.
Yeah. Put that baby on the Discord.
Yeah. So that's what I did this past week. On the gaming front, I started playing Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Ooh,
Go,
okay.
Go Power Rangers!
So this Power Rangers game is a fighting game. And with most fighting games, you can select from a slew of different characters. And with Power Rangers, you're like, oh my gosh, there's like over 150 Power Rangers in all of the universes and all of the seasons. There are hundreds of villains out there. I'm like, this is going to be one of the best fighting games. I'm going to be able to play as all these Power Rangers and all these villains. It's going to be great. And it's not.
Oh no, boo.
So this game, it's not just your traditional fighting game where you can fight 1v1. This is a fighting game kind of like the Marvel vs. Capcom games where you have 3 fighters on your team against
That's cool.
3 other fighters.
I like that.
So yeah, I mean you can switch out in between all your fighters, and as you get hurt, you can switch them out, and they can like get some of the health back while they're sitting away, not fighting. So while you're using your other fighter, and switch back and forth. So it's actually pretty. The fighting game itself is fun. There are all kinds of special moves and powers and mega powers and superpowers and things like that. So it is fun as a game. But with all the Power Rangers that there are, they decided to only put 9 Power Rangers, or including villains, as characters. So you can only
9?
select up to 9.
What
there
year
are only
is this?
9 characters.
Is this like
and
1990 Street Fighter 1?
This is
Arcade
Mortal Kombat
cabinet?
1. Mortal Kombat 1. I think maybe had 7 to start off.
Yeah.
And this is along the same lines, but it's not 1v1. It's 3 versus 3. So you're gonna have 2/3 of the fighters in any match in any given time. So there's really not a lot of variety to it.
I smell DLC.
Well, so there is a Season 1 DLC. You could buy a Season 1 pass for like $20, and in that Season 1 pass, they're only going to add 3 characters, which makes no sense.
It seems a little
They
steep.
should drop. I know.
Well, the
they
game
should drop,
itself
like,
is $20. It's like double
Right?
it up for 3 more
they
characters.
should double, add 9 more characters.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but other than that, it's a fun game.
Like,
I enjoy it. I'm a Power
does-
Rangers fan, so.
Do sparks fly off of you when you hit each other or something cool like
Oh
that?
yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Does
Yeah.
it? Oh man, I need to see this.
Imagine
Gotta be authentic.
Imagine Marvel vs. Capcom, but with Power Rangers. That's pretty much what it is. That's
Nice.
the look.
Now
that
the
it's
other
given.
thing is, does it go between being small and being big? Like, can you change to, like, what was the name?
Dinozord.
It's not. Yeah, Dinozord. I'm like, what is that called? It's not Voltron. That's the name of another show. Yeah.
So,
do
no,
you turn into
you can't-
Dinozord or?
There are no
Go
Dinozord
big?
fights. However,
What?
your superpower is you can call on one of 3 Dinozords. And you choose that at the character select screen. You can either choose the original Megazord, the Green Ranger Dragonzord, or
Oh yeah, I love that Dragonzord.
Goldar. Those are the only 3 that you can choose.
Oh okay.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's fun as a Power Ranger fan. But if you're a fighting fan or if you enjoy video games without Power Rangers, you won't like this game. I mean, let's be honest. It's the only reason I bought it is because it's Power Rangers. But so I've been playing that one. That one's been pretty fun. And then the other game I played over the past week, it was A Way Out. I got
you did.
platinum on. I got the platinum on that one.
Before you
That is
finished.
now- that is a number. I know. Yeah, it was like the beginning of chapter 4. Well, there's 4 chapters. The beginning of chapter 4, I got my last trophy, and we played for another 45 minutes to an hour, maybe longer. And there were no more trophies, not even an end boss trophy or anything like that, which is crazy, by the way. But I ended up getting that platinum. That is now my 11th platinum out of the 12 that I had chosen, or part of my resolution. I want to get 12 this year, and I have 11 already. So I only need 1 more.
Is it going to be Red Dead?
Probably not.
Because
Probably
it's
not.
going to take you the rest of a year to get platinum
The
number 12.
Red Dead Online wasn't fun, and I don't know if I'm gonna go for that platinum.
Oh no!
Until they change something, I'm not sure if I'm gonna go for that one.
What is it about the online that, like, if you can just sum it up into?
It's slow.
Really?
Money is hard to come by in the online, and you have to do so much to get just a bit of money. And some of the missions where you complete it and your next mission is on the other side of the map. So you can either ride your horse for 15 minutes to the next mission, or you
Pay.
can use fast travel, but you have to pay for it.
Mm.
And it's like, I don't have the funds to pay for this. So, it was just too slow. And I don't think I'm not sure I'm gonna go for that one.
I actually agree with that. I didn't really like the Red Dead Online as much either. I stopped playing, like, I guess I played it for maybe a couple weeks and then just kind of dropped it. The part that like bothers me, like the money thing is horrible, like, because you just cannot buy anything. Like, it's so hard to come by.
Right.
But also, it's so annoying. Like, you just get killed and shot so often when you're trying to do anything. Like, it's awful. And, like, if the person's more advanced than you can go back and try to kill them as many times as you want. It doesn't matter. They're going to kill you every time.
Exactly.
You have to be killed 3 times, I think, in order to, like, block that person from killing you again. And then it only blocks them for, like, 10 minutes. Like, I've had people literally, you try to run away from them on the map, and they just follow you. It's like, oh, this is the worst. He's just going to follow me for 10 minutes and just keep pillaging me.
Jeez.
Yeah. Not fun at all.
Yeah.
So then
it sounds a little too real, a little too realistic.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there has to be some way to. I mean, I may get back into it, and once they update it and change it to the what the community says that they want. Who knows? Maybe 6 months down the road, it's gonna be better. But and until then, I'm not gonna jump back into it. So I have a decision to make whether I'm going to continue the platinum run and update my goal to 19. That means I would have essentially doubled my platinums from the start of the year, or I just stop and I enjoy the games I'm going to play. I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm going to update it, because playing a game to get a platinum is totally different play style than just enjoying the game.
It is.
And so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to think about it.
You pray about it. Think about it. The Lord will guide you in what to do.
Yeah, the Lord will guide me. He's going to tell me how to play games. Thanks.
Patrick, get the platinums.
But yeah, that's about all I did this past week.
That probably beat me out on the spectrum a little bit. I had a pretty boring week. A couple things that were interesting. The first one is that I watched another movie.
Yeah, let's hear it. What was it?
I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Nice.
Hey.
And I have to be honest, like, those movies are so much fun.
Aren't they?
They are, man. They are so much fun to watch. I watched both the first and the second one twice now. There is just a lot of stuff. There's so much like there's so many little things going on in those movies because of all the characters that I just feel like you miss a lot of stuff when you go through. Like the first time I watched it, I knew I was going to want to watch it again because there's a lot of stuff going on. Just like little things with the characters, like little jokes and stuff that you maybe don't pick up when you're really like focused in on the story. But man, they were awesome. Like that movie had me laughing like the whole time. Like it was really cool.
Yeah, everything between the action, the comedy, and the music. Like there were songs that I didn't know, but I grew to love like through the movie. Like I was like, I've never heard of this song. This is good stuff.
It's the same for me. I like a lot of those songs. Like I've heard of most of them, but I also found on Spotify there is a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 playlist with all the songs, and I've been listening to it for like 2 weeks. Like
I never thought of that. That's awesome. I am going to look that up.
It's such a good playlist. It's got all the good ones on it.
Yeah, right now
I remember.
Okay. Sorry.
Good.
I was just going to say, along with the Spotify, in my Spotify playlist right now, I have the Good Morning Guys, and I have like piano music. It helps me to work, like helps me to focus, just listening to some nice piano music in the background. But I definitely need to add a couple lists, and I think Volume 1 and 2 are going to be added to that. That sounds like a good idea.
Oh, it starts off with "Hooked on a Feeling." So good.
Ooga chaka, hooga ooga.
Such a good playlist. But yeah, that movie was really great. I really enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed the Iron Man movie so far. I'm obviously not going to watch all the Marvel movies by the time Endgame comes out.
Come on, you can do it. You got plenty of time.
I'm up against the wall here now. I still have 85 more Marvel movies to watch until then. So.
You got 18 days. If you watch one every day, you'll get it. Just watch a movie every day.
That is actually true. That is a serious commitment.
You got it.
I believe no, but I probably won't watch all of them. I'm sure I will still go watch Endgame. Like that sounds weird. Actually, it's perfect for this episode because I'm basically spoiling myself by going. I'm like spoiling like all these other movies, but I don't. I'll still go see it. Like I went and saw Infinity War just because my buddies were going. And I'll go see this one too, and I'm sure I'll really like it.
At least you'll understand a little more in Endgame than you probably did for Infinity War when you hadn't watched any movies.
Yeah, when I watched Marvel Infinity War, I probably annoyed the crap out of my buddy sitting next to me. I'm like, all right, who's this guy? Like, who's that?
You're like, who's that? Who's the rabbit? Who's that rabbit over there with the pirate angel?
Yeah, I didn't know who anybody was. But I guess it's the movie. I still thought the movie Infinity Wars was good. Like, I will go back and watch it after watching all the Marvel movies because I'll have more appreciation for it. But I still thought it was good. And I mean, Endgame is, it's going to follow along those lines, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, I think Endgame is going to be the biggest movie of all time. I think it's going to outperform Avatar. I think it really is.
You heard it here, folks.
I will tell you what, I've never seen a movie more hyped. Even if I didn't pay attention to anything, it's impossible to not come across some type of movie hype for that. Like a commercial, like an ad, like all kinds of stuff. Like that movie is everywhere. Yeah.
Well, they said that the pre-sale tickets have tripled what Infinity War was.
Tripled?
And Infinity War ended up what was it, around $2 billion? And if this one has tripled the pre-sale tickets of Infinity War,
that is crazy.
This is going to be the biggest movie ever.
Well, I think these movies too, and I guess they kind of did it for me. I went and watched Infinity Wars. These movies, kind of got me interested in Marvel. I guess you know what I mean, because I hadn't really seen them, but these movies have been so big and so popular, and almost in your face, you can't ignore them.
Yeah,
yeah.
It kind of got me into the Marvel movies. So
And I think that's crazy because Infinity War is the culmination of 10 years of movies. You would think at this point it would be so convoluted and so so many things weaving through that someone watching Infinity War would be like, I have no idea what's happening. But the way they present it speaks to both the people that have seen all the other movies and at the same time speaks to those who haven't. And you're proof of that, Ronnie. And that's really cool. And it definitely is going to be huge.
I could still follow the movie. I didn't know all the characters and stuff like that. But I mean, the movie didn't force me to know all the characters. You know what I mean? I didn't have to know who this was and all this stuff.
Well, and a lot of them, they were meeting each other for the first time in the movie, so it worked out that,
Yeah, exactly. They're all introducing each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's oh, this is perfect.
Why is Gamora?
Yeah, but so I did watch that, and I loved it. And then the last thing I did is I just had some friends over on Saturday night, and we played cards at my house. So really chilled evening, but those are always the best, if you ask me.
What card game did you play?
We played
Vomiting
an adult
Cats?
card game, which is Cards Against Humanity, if you've ever heard that.
Oh, I've heard of it.
I have.
For anybody listening, this is not a children's game by any stretch of the imagination.
So not for my youth group? Okay.
Nope, not for your youth group either.
They are literally
not for young
against
adults
humanity.
either.
They will cut you. Do not use them.
No, I mean,
in
some
a
of the
closed
cards,
space.
some of the cards are very vulgar. The language and stuff on the cards is it's not for kids. So, but it is a really fun game for adults. It depends. I feel like you have to have maybe a little bit of a crude sense of humor for the game, but I think that's kind of what makes it fun and different. But that's pretty much it for me. What'd you do, Lucas?
Cool. Let's see. Over the past week, I've been kind of upping the ante in my work, especially since Marc called me out last week. I thought I better work a little harder so that
you better actually do some work.
I better do something. No, but I've been meeting with different pastors and doing different things. I did preach again this Sunday. I actually preached the same message at a different church. It was very last minute, and it was very much a God thing. One door kind of closed on an opportunity, and then another door opened, so it was really cool. But something as an aside, along with my English classes and pastors that I met with, I had some really funny discussions. One of the pastors that I meet with that I've talked to you guys before about, his name's Wesley. We were talking the other day, and I don't even remember how it came up, but I asked him what he thought of Jim Carrey, and he was like, I love Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, all the way. And I'm like, are you serious? Ace Ventura? And we had the next 10 minutes we had a discussion, and it all culminated in me telling him, sharing with him the significance of that famous line from Ace Ventura 2, I think, or maybe he did it in 1 too, where he goes, like a glove. And it's one of my favorite lines. And I think that's how it came up originally, is because he parked in a spot in the city that was just like perfect. And so I started talking about that, and we started talking about Ace Ventura. Another Brazilian that I was talking to about our show, actually, that I've mentioned before, and he's on our Discord, Adriano. He likes to listen to our show a lot every week, and a part of every one of our English classes, he brings up our quickfires, and the past couple weeks, he's shared his own answers to the quickfires, and I have to say, he's given Patrick a run for his money. Not that it's that hard, but he's like, coming up with his own thoughts and ideas and talking about it, and it's been very entertaining to hear his perspective, because there are times when he's like, I don't understand what you guys are saying, because you guys are saying some crazy stuff like deflated hot pockets and talking about all these things like what's a hot pocket and all those funny things. But it's been really funny and pretty cool. After one of my more recent classes, I also accidentally sent him a good night, love you, hugs and kisses text that was meant for my wife. And so you can imagine how shocking that was for him to receive it. I quickly tried to delete it, but I think he read it before I deleted it, and he, of course, laughed in my face.
That's solid.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Have you guys done that recently, or can you remember a time when I was wondering if I'm all alone in this, or if you guys accidentally texted someone thinking you were, writing someone else?
I've definitely done that before. I think the last time I did it, I remember messaging my mom, and I can't remember what it was about.
Oh no.
It wasn't anything terrible or whatever. I know I was attempting to text a girl, and I obviously did not do that. But it ended up being like just kind of a funny thing. It was like plans like well, let's meet up here at like 6, and my mom's like, all right. And I'm like, no, that's not for you. Never mind. I wasn't inviting you somewhere.
Don't meet me, Mom.
It turned into this.
We're good.
Turned into this whole thing. No, you can't come.
You're not invited. Yeah, that's all you need. You're hanging out with all your friends, and your mom shows up.
Wrong person. Yeah.
I've accidentally texted my friends something I meant to text to my wife. Thankfully, it was nothing like inappropriate or anything.
Boo! That's no fun.
But yeah, I've definitely a lot of times I'll go to the very first text message on the list, and usually that's my wife. But I do it kind of not thinking when the last person I texted was like a group of my buddies or whatever. So I've definitely done stuff like that before.
I remember when I was I think I had been working at my job for maybe a year, and my boss had asked me to do something, and it was just off the wall grunt work, and I was not all about it at all. And so I meant to send an email to my buddy saying how garbage this is, and I accidentally replied to my boss.
Oh no.
Oh no. And she just responds
Yikes.
did you mean to send this to me? I'm like, no. This is. So I had to play it off it had nothing to do with what she asked me.
Oh my gosh. That's awful. Wow.
Glad I still have a job.
I can imagine. That was awkward. But besides those fun conversations with Brazilians, another thing that happened during this past week, I really got to witness just how I guess God just really works in really cool ways sometimes. As I had mentioned before, I spoke and preached in Sunday school and church about friendship last week, John 15, based on the things we talked about a couple episodes ago. And then this week, my wife, Mindy, she led the Sunday school and talked about the 10 Commandments. And towards the end of our Sunday school class, one of the guys in our group, Fabiano, he said that earlier this week, kind of in response to the friendship discussion that we had, and then realizing that in our Sunday school this past Sunday that God was encouraging him to kind of take things to the next level with one of his coworkers named Paullin. He was really he was having a moment right in the middle of Sunday school and just talking about how God was speaking to him and how he had just been talking to his friend Paulo out at a restaurant or whatever, just talking about life, and Paulo had kind of just told him, hey, the Bible is fairy tales, and I don't believe in that kind of stuff, and Fabiano was just really trying to encourage him, and it was just really cool that he just kind of had that realization that God was kind of encouraging, his relationship with Paulo and encouraging him to not give up and to continue forward. So that was just something cool that happened at church this past weekend that I just wanted to share with you guys, that you never know what God's going to use, what you say and how you say it. And if you think people aren't listening, like your family or friends or whatever, know that God is, that if, especially if you're saying something on his behalf or, trying to encourage somebody, that people are listening, they're paying attention, and you can have an impact. And then beyond that, in the gaming front, I've not been playing a lot of Fallout 76, which has made me kind of sad. I need to make a public apology to Jonathan. I think I have bailed on him 4 out of the last 5 times over these past couple weeks.
More Apex for me.
Yeah, more Apex for Marc. Which is funny. I think around the time that I told Marc, hey, buddy, Tuesdays and Fridays are my time with Sheldor, so you can have the other days. I think around that time I started bailing on him just for a variety of reasons, and I was like, wow, just insert foot in mouth. But we did, one of the times we played, we did run into like an unkillable fly. It was an enemy, and we could not kill it. It was just a little fly, and it was just flying around, and we literally had to like escape the zone we were in because it was going to kill us because we could not kill him. And
going to craft a fly swatter.
I know, right?
To do.
An unkillable fly swatter. I should have thought of that. Dang it! I'll try to do that next time I'm in there.
Okay.
And but then beyond that, I've been playing. I had been playing Lego Jurassic World with my kids, and we finished and platinumed it last week. That is one fantastic game. Patrick, I think I've mentioned it to you before, but you definitely need to play some Lego games with Clark if you haven't already. Even your daughter, I think they would enjoy. I can't remember if you've said they've played Lego games before, but
I tried to get Clark to play one of the Lego games. We started with Lego the movie, and
that's right.
He did not understand how to switch characters and do certain things. Like, it was way beyond his league.
Yeah.
And so we actually got out we have an old DS, and we have a few games on it, and he's been playing Mario Kart.
Oh, nice.
And he's been playing Mario Kart for maybe, 2 or 3 weeks, and he's getting pretty good at it. He's starting to learn how to do the power slide.
Look out.
When he first started, he was getting like 8th place every single time. But that's normal. I mean, he's trying. He's only 4. He's figuring things out. Now he's getting 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place consistently, and he's unlocked all the tracks. So that's more his alley, rather than, because it's just a couple buttons, rather than the Xbox controller of trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I do that? Oh, I need to hold in B. I need to tap B now.
Yeah.
I need to hold in Y and then move my cursor over to this guy. Yeah, it was too much for him. So
yeah.
At this point, and Claire, she's not a gamer. She's more of like, hey, I want to make videos on my phone and dance to those and with music. No. So yeah, she's not a gamer.
Yawn.
Yeah, you'll have that. Well, with Marc. No, not with Marc. Marc is not your child. With Clark.
With Marc. Now, Marc, when I play games with him,
tell us
I have
about
to show him the ropes too.
Yeah. You got to hold his hand, and you got to be like, it's okay, buddy. It's okay, little buddy. You'll get it.
He was calling me Clark the other day.
That's all it is.
Oh, man. Yeah, you'll find with Clark, with each month that passes, and you just kind of just hop around the different games. Right now he does Mario Kart, but when you go back to Lego, he's going to remember some stuff or some of the other games that you play with them. Once they get it, it's really fun, and when they're like, "Hey, Daddy, let's play this together," that's just really cool when you get to do that.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, I know, right? Besides hanging out with the dinosaurs in that fun little game, I also platinumed a little game called Platinum of the Eyes. Doesn't that sound magical?
It's fake. That's a fake game. Just like My Name is Mayo, just tap the screen.
No, it wasn't. Have you guys ever played the game Limbo? It's kind of an older game. It was on 360, PS3 eventually. So this is like a sci-fi Limbo light. It's not quite as long as Limbo, and like it doesn't take you as long to beat it, and it's not quite as, I think Limbo is a little more difficult, but it's very much like you're this little robot and you're pretty much traversing the land. It's kind of playing out a story. You have no attacks, so you have to avoid stuff and figure out puzzles and all that jazz. It wasn't that bad. It was fine. It was.
How do you find these games?
I'm a big, huge nerd, and I just, I have other friends that are trophy hunters, other friends that like easy platinums, and they tell me about it, and, those kind of things. So I check them out, and when they're on super sales, and you have extra bucks just hanging around, and yeah, it's good times.
Okay.
I like the the meta game with trophies, so it's good times.
Yeah.
Other than that, I also 100%ed a walking simulator with NES graphics called Proteus. That was a PS Plus game back in 2013. Not pretty to look at. But
a walking game?
Yes. Have you heard it? So you haven't heard of this. So there are games, Ronnie, that they call walking simulators. And it's called a walking simulator because it'll play through a story, but all you really have to do is walk through the environment. There's no like buttons to press other than just moving through the environment. I know it sounds riveting, and sometimes
some games. I mean,
some of them they do very well.
Simulators,
yeah,
because they're like very calming.
Yeah,
they are. A very big stark contrast to like the action games that I play.
And this one's very calming. Like I've played this with my kids actually. Proteus. It's really simple. You just walk around, look around. Like I said, it's NES graphics, but it's still 3D. It's still something that, like my son and my daughter would just be like, I just want to walk around and explore. There's little, 8-bit chickens and birds flying around, and, it's not that bad. It's just, after 10 minutes, you're like, okay, moving on. I need some action. I need a gun or something. So.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? It's very riveting. It's good times. And then to finish it all off, I, as Patrick already mentioned, played A Way Out. I really liked that game. That game was a blast. It was like an Uncharted-like adventure that had a good mix of Shawshank Redemption and Double Dragon to it. Like it just, you're co-oping, you're hanging out, you're having fun. You have a common goal, and you kind of have some puzzles where you have to work off of each other. There's some shooting elements. There's some mystery. There's some, It was a really fun game. I recommend it to anyone who's looking for a co-op game. I think what's cool about it is that only one person has to buy it. The other person can just download the demo, so you can go halvesies with someone, or if you just know someone that already owns the game, you can play through it with them. And it was really fun to play through it with Patrick. I found it really funny, Patrick, that you've played through the game, but you acted like it was your first time playing through the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, it was so strange. Like, when Mark and I played it, we played it in, I think, 2 sit-throughs like a year ago, and we got to the end, and you're like, was this the ending that you guys got? And I was like, I have no clue. I am not sure about any of this.
Yeah, and like I'd mentioned, like we'd mentioned in past episodes, like it was a lot of times there were some not awkward things, but there were just funny things that happened that we were making comments and making jokes that it was, and just acting like it was Mystery Science 3000, Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was really funny.
Well, yeah, when I went up to see Ed, and after we got done playing games, he wanted to watch the playthrough of our A Way Out because I streamed the end of it. And he was chuckling pretty hard about our comments about the commentary of our players and the movements and what we're doing, and because we were playing the game not necessarily just to plow through the story.
No, definitely not.
There was one point where you were sitting on a wall
yes.
and just sitting there like you're doing a wall sit,
yeah.
Waiting for me to climb on you so like we could get up to the next section. And you just made a comment that it looks like you're taking a dump.
Yeah.
So instead of just continuing on, I went ahead and got you some leaves.
That's right.
Fake
leaves,
I
forgot about that.
Just to help you so you could wipe it up.
I appreciated those digital leaves. It's kind of stuff you're missing when you're not watching the stream or playing. And I really liked in that game too that there was definitely an element of a plot twist, and there were twists and turns. Which, of course, I will not spoil. That would make me a spoiler. And speaking of spoiler, that brings us to the polemic topic of the show today. Spoilers, baby! That's right, folks. Today we are talking about spoilers. Some of us hate them, some could care less, and even a select few actually like them. So today we are going to be talking about our personal feelings and the feelings of our community and listeners about spoilers. What do you do to avoid spoilers? When is it okay to post spoilers? When was the last time something was spoiled for you or by you? And how have some spoiler-worthy moments impacted you in your life? So let's start with our personal feeling on spoilers. Love them, dislike them, hate them, or could care less. Who wants to lead the way? I can only imagine.
I could care less about spoilers.
I think
fake news.
Fake news, totally.
No, I absolutely do not like spoilers. I like to experience the event myself for the first time. Some people enjoy the journey over the ending. I enjoy experiencing the ending over the journey. And the journey has a lot to do with it. But there are times when, I don't even watch the previews for, TV shows for the following week because I don't really care. I'm going to watch it anyways. I want to be surprised every single time. So, I don't like spoilers in the slightest.
All right, so my general opinion of spoilers is that I don't care at all. But I know a lot of people do care. Like, for example, Patrick, the reason I said fake news is because we used to go, we'd go walk, at the park, in the summer during, lunch or whatever, just to get out of the office. And there were things, I basically knew I was not even allowed to talk about with him. He lays down this serious spoiler. He's he is so anti-spoiler. He is leading the armies against spoiling. So there was things that I literally just off limits for me. I'm I'm not slipping up and I'm not ruining this. But no, generally I just don't care. I'm the guy that watched Infinity Wars before basically any other Marvel movie, and I'm going to watch Endgame before I watch most of them probably. So. It doesn't matter as much to me.
I just imagine Patrick in a soldier outfit with a little patch with a little dude going shh on the.
That's exactly what he was wearing.
I imagine. Patrick,
I can imagine that too.
I imagine Patrick climbing up Mount Horeb and telling Moses to add an 11th commandment: "Thou shalt not spoil."
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yep.
If you ever get your hands on a time machine, you are
commandment.
going back in time, baby. You're 11 commandments, my friend. We're adding an 11th.
So here's my personal, at least how I handle spoilers. I care, but I don't care at the same time. If I get spoiled on something, a lot of times I sometimes look ahead, I will admit. And sometimes my wife hates me for that, and sometimes my wife will be oh, so what happens here? What happens here? And then I try to not say anything because typically she's don't tell me, don't tell me. And she's why won't you tell me? And I'm because you told me not to tell you.
Oh, jeez.
But, sometimes I'll look ahead and sometimes I won't. Actually right now, for Umbrella Academy, I have actually not looked at any spoilers, for the show. So I'm trying to be good about that. That's pretty much my philosophy, sometimes I've looked ahead because sometimes I can't help myself, but, to me, I like to be surprised, but at the same time, it's not going to kill me if I find something out. But yeah, that's my outlook on it.
So I want to go back to my feelings about spoilers. One of the things that with this platinum trophy hunting that I'm doing is because for me, if I want to play the game only once and do a single playthrough, I have to look at what's coming. Hey, what do I have to do next to get the next trophy?
I never thought of that.
With that, it's so terrible. Okay, the next section, I'm gonna need to do this. I'm man, I wish I wish I didn't have to do this. That's another reason why I'm not sure if I want to continue this platinum trophy hunting, because I'm not enjoying the game as much as I would if I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
the plight of a trophy hunter.
I never thought about that. Yeah, that's totally. You cannot hate spoilers and be a trophy hunter. With that being said, I'm one of the exceptions because I hate spoilers. Let me tell you a story. One time, this kid spoiled something for me about Infinity War, and I hit him with a car.
Oh.
I don't know if that's fake news or real news.
I don't even have a joke because I was going to somehow hit the kid get hit by a car. I was going to use that.
No, that's totally fake news.
I mean, it sounds real.
It sounds legit to me. No, I'm more like Mark in the sense that I don't mind spoilers. I don't go looking for them per se, but to me it is about the journey. It's not about the destination. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've read Wikipedia for movies or video games that I didn't think I was ever going to watch or play, or I still haven't watched or played, so I didn't mind reading about them on Wikipedia. Like I did recently for Breaking Bad. I think I've read four seasons on Wikipedia, like every single episode, what happens, and it's a very riveting story, very interesting, and I got to skip a lot of the, some of the stuff that's said and the things that are shown on the unrated Netflix version that is the only way for me to watch. I also read on Wikipedia the whole story of God of War back in the day when I didn't think I was going to get to play the game. And for that, even though I eventually did play the game and I went through the story, I still really enjoyed it. And even though I kind of knew some of the end game things, some of the things that were going to happen, I still loved the journey. And as a dad, I loved the relationship between the father and son. And even though knowing the things that I knew, it made me notice some of the things I might not have known, and I would have had to play a second time in order to get it. So I can rewatch movies. Sometimes I have a form of dementia, as I've already established on this show, and the things I forget. So it kind of helps me in the moment. There are times when I've watched movies and I've thought, maybe it's going to happen differently this time. Like, I know it's not going to happen, but I don't know if you guys have ever had this where you watch a movie you've seen before and you're like, what if it didn't go this way? Like, what if the hero wasn't a stupid face and they made the right decision, like, within the first 20 minutes of the movie? Like, I think crazy stuff like that sometimes. So maybe that's just me.
Fair enough.
Fair enough indeed. Let's hear some of our Discord members. They wanted to share with us how they felt about spoilers. Our VP Barnaby Butters said, spoilers are bad. I used to care a lot, get pretty emotional, angry, sad, because that was all that was really going on in my life. Having somebody and ruining what my brain considered the one thing, quote unquote, I cared about was pretty bad. Nowadays, I still don't like spoilers, but I don't get that much invested. In the end, it's just a movie, game, comic, whatever. Yes, I still care about those things, but it is not going to ruin my life, quote unquote. If something gets spoiled, that said, I have actively avoided any in-game spoilers, including the latest trailer, because spoilers. And by the way, you have to mention my two favorite recent spoiler Dramagate. Mark Ruffalo, who spoiled the Avengers 4 movie name and the ending many years ago, and Tom Holland, who's pretty much spoiled all of Avengers Infinity War, Homecoming, and Away From Home. So, you have that. And you guys...
Wait, he spoiled all that stuff?
At some point or another. Yeah, so... You didn't. I don't think you watched that.
Like, what kind of spoilers was it?
Well,
was it like the end of it,
no,
or it was just like scenes?
So for him, for Tom Holland, he when you compile all of his spoilers together, like, it gives you a good chunk of information about the movies. But like, he spoiled some time ago how there's going to be not just Spider-Man 1, but Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3.
I mean, come on.
I mean,
like, that's...
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's like,
saying.
Come on, we know they're going to keep... They got a good thing going, so it's, to me, it would be a spoiler if they said, "Hey, we're stopping at Spider-Man 2." That I'd be like, wait, what? Are you serious?
Well,
that's a spoiler.
The funny thing is about Tom Holland, I was reading that they actually, and I guess for a lot of these guys too, they don't actually give them the whole script.
Right.
They basically feed them their lines a little bit at a time. So they don't know the context because they don't want them to know the story. They especially have to do that with Tom Holland.
And Mark Ruffalo.
and Mark Ruffalo, they have no context as to what they're doing. So
that's got to be hard as an actor to not know what kind of emotions that you got to feel. I mean, like that's got to be all about the director. Like, hey,
oh yeah, it has to be.
Just imagine you are feeling this way and go with it, because that's got to be tough for an actor.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I
Absolutely.
saw the video with Mark Ruffalo some time ago where a year before.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
And
Spoilers.
the guy that, yeah,
That in itself is a spoiler.
oh right,
Spoiler alert!
yeah, that's true.
Spoiler
you
alert.
you can use that spoiler alert thing that if you want to use that during that time. There'll be a couple times that you might have to do that just for fun. But anyways, yeah. So he like revealed that a year before the movie came out, and I remember seeing the video where who's the one that plays Iron Patriot?
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, Don Cheadle like hit him on the shoulder, like seriously, and was just like, dude, shut up. Like he was not joking. He was like, shut your mouth right now. So yeah, it would be. I mean, they have so many actors involved. I can't see how everybody could keep their mouth shut about it. So it is what it is.
So I have some thoughts about. So I totally respect people who are like straight up, people like Patrick or whatever, who's like, I don't like spoilers, don't tell me, and that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of the mentality, I think we've gone a little overboard on it about the idea of spoilers, to the point where people are like, now listen, hear me out, to the point where like people, when you may have accidentally said something that could potentially be some sort of a spoiler, or an actor that's going to be in the movie, or something like that. I've had people, they basically act like I just killed their child in front of them. Like people get really upset when you mention some sort of spoiler, and I think there's a point where it becomes obnoxious, in my opinion. And so trust me, I get it. I get that you want to be surprised and all that kind of stuff, but like, they're movies and books. If something happens and something slips, life goes on. It's going to be okay. It's not that big of a deal. That being said,
Yeah, that's basically Patrick that you just described.
Patrick, rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
I would
2 minute rebuttal.
It's totally different if you spoil the ending to a movie to saying a specific scene within the movie. Like if you talk about a specific scene, sometimes when I'm talking to Ronnie, he says, he's like, this isn't really a spoiler, it's just in the middle of a movie kind of thing. That's fine. But the ending to a movie, that is a huge deal.
Oh, I'm not going to sit there and like just blatantly talk about a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the movie right in front of you. I'm not going to blab about it.
Like I couldn't believe earlier in the episode that Lucas said that Ace Ventura parked a car perfectly. Like, are you kidding me? That is one of the biggest spoilers in that movie.
Oh,
no,
right,
like that's
spoilers.
Like that's just a small scene. It has nothing to do with the how the story is going to play out.
But it's like, it's to the point where like when I'm coming out, say I'm coming out of the movie theater, like I have to, like, typically I'm talking to my wife about, oh man, that was awesome and blah blah blah, like, and I try to keep my mouth shut as best as I can because I feel like there are people around me that are ready to stone me. And
you do. I mean, people are going in to go see that movie.
That's definitely a time where you should keep your mouth shut.
That is like a place that you cannot talk about the movie.
Sounds like a rough theater, man.
I just feel like some people take that just way overboard. Like
I'm going to be there with like a wooden mallet, and I'm going to be like, shut up, no spoilers.
But no, I mean, I get it. I respect people that like want to go in completely surprised. I get that. But I just think sometimes people push it a little too far, and they just need to lighten up a little bit.
Well, Patrick, I will say that while Ronnie, Mark, and I are kind of forming our own little big deal about spoilers club, you are not alone. Travis Popsicle had this to say. He said, I stopped watching trailers for Star Wars and the Marvel movies because they almost always show too much. It is a different experience going into a movie blind because you can only hear it. But not really. Thank you for that, Travis. Yeah. Nice little dad joke insertion there. But not really a big deal if things get spoiled. It's just a movie. It's just a show. For the most part, people are decent about it. My thing is people not talking or making noise during the show. Also along lines with that, Tim Paullin said, I used to stay away from movie spoilers. Now most of the trailers aren't even content. No, they're not even content. Aren't even content that makes the final cut. Or they're completely fooling us. Hulk and Infinity War. I will watch it only if it's under a minute. So what do you think about spoilers and trailers?
I think, and this is the other thing too, like, I totally get going in completely blind as well. Because, trailers, they give away a fair amount of stuff. Now, obviously, the Russo brothers with like Infinity War and stuff, they've learned. And they've actually filmed basically fake scenes.
Fake spoilers. I love it.
Yeah. So they figured it out. But at the same time, when people complain, when they say, like, oh man, that trailer showed too much. Well, why did you watch the trailer then? The trailer in itself is basically spoiler central. So I just don't see the room to complain there. Just don't watch the trailer. You have the choice to not watch the trailer. So that's your deal.
So I think, like you said, the Russo brothers have chosen the route of misdirection. And they did that with the Infinity War trailer. There were scenes in that trailer that didn't make it into the final movie, which was absolutely awesome the way they did that. And I believe they're doing the same thing with the Endgame trailers, where they are filming scenes and they're putting stuff in there that is giving you a misdirection so that people are not spoiled. Now, with the Avengers universe, I mean, this is the culmination of movie. This is the movie of all movies. I mean, let's be honest. This is a world that they have built. This is the end game. This is going to be the end of the Marvel universe as we know it. Yes, it's going to continue on because we know that Spider-Man movie is coming out in July or June, whatever it is. But the spoilers for this movie are magnified because of how many movies are leading up to this. Now, if we're talking about a chick flick spoiler, it's like, come on, we all know how those end. But this is, if we're talking about specifically the Marvel universe, this is one of the biggest movies, and people do not want to be spoiled. I would say like 80% of people don't want to be spoiled, and the other 20% really don't care. And I get it. People don't care. They want to eat up as much as they can. They want to get as much content as they can to get hyped for it. I get that. But yeah, if spoilers for other certain movies versus the Marvel movies are way different, I believe.
Yeah.
I see that. I respect that.
So, in your own personal history of spoilers, let's change gears for a moment and talk about when we've been spoiled or we've spoiled someone else. But we can start with, when have you guys been spoiled before in the past?
I'll go first because I was going to talk about this, but I thought we were going to go this direction. I was in line in the movie theater back when M. Night Shyamalan was his original movies. Like there was The Sixth Sense, and then he came out with Signs, and then the third movie was The Village. And this was back in the day when you couldn't pre-order tickets ahead of time unless you went to the movie theater and earlier in the day and actually got them. So this was a time where you had to get to the movie early, get your tickets, and stand in line, waiting for the next theater to open. And as I'm standing in line, I mean, these are roped off lines, and this is like M. Night Shyamalan. This is his third movie. This is one of the biggest directors at the time. Mm-hmm. And he is one of those directors. He produces a story that throughout the entire movie leads up to some huge twist at the end. And that's just the way his movies have been. That's what most of his movies have been. So I'm standing in line for The Village. And if you've seen The Village, you know that there's, again, a big twist at the end. And I was standing in line, and we were waiting to get into our theater. And the showing before us had just let out, and there's people walking out. And they were talking, and this couple was talking so loud. I'm not sure if it was Mark and Kristen.
Yeah,
I'm not
Mark.
sure.
Who were you with at the time?
But it could have been.
Not Kristen when The Village came out.
So they were talking so loudly that they spoiled it for everyone in the line. And
that is crazy.
It was like anarchy. Like people were booing at these people for talking about the spoiler, because that was the reason why you go see the M. Night Shyamalan movies, is because of the twist.
Yeah.
Because you never see it coming. Even though he alludes to it every scene, like in each scene, there's something that he adds into it that foreshadows what's going to happen at the end. But you don't see those little things until you kind of like see it the second time around. But that was the first time that I realized I hated spoilers. Like I never even, because back in the day there was action movies and so forth, like twists really didn't matter until M. Night Shyamalan came in and just pretty much broke the mold of the normal movies and decided to put twists in there, like huge twists. And that was the first time that I remember a movie like that being spoiled for me.
Yeah, I used to love them M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movies. That's his other name.
Surname.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I never got spoiled on his movies, but I remember, especially once he got established, like you get into The Village, you Signs, and then after that, I'm blanking on his other movies, but you just would go in and you're like, what is going to be the twist? What is going to be that one thing? I kind of miss. I know he has other movies that he's come out with recently. I haven't watched them, like Glass, and
he's come out with after that was like The Happening, which wasn't really good. It wasn't a very good twist, but he came out with Split, that split personality movie.
Yeah,
that was really cool. The ending of that. I think there was Unbreakable. He did that one. Some cool twists in there.
Yeah. What other spoilers we got that you that were forced upon you?
So I had to think back on this one because I've never really cared about spoilers at all, and I did not come up with a single time where I can remember something being absolutely spoiled for me. And I think it's just because I've always carried like I guess kind of the same view. Like if I was going in to see like a movie and somebody came out talking about it, like I probably wouldn't even pay attention. Just because I don't know. I don't really. It just doesn't really matter to me.
You just
like I'll still watch it and I'll still enjoy it even if I know what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah, you just kind of live in the moment.
Yeah, that's pretty much my same reaction to it. Like, I try to not, if I'm going to see something I'm really interested in, I'm not going to read about the whole movie or whatever. But if I find something out about it, I'm still going to watch the movie anyways, because it's a lot about the experience of actually seeing it happen.
Right.
For sure. Now, certain things I do try to steer away from, and unfortunately, the most recent one I can think of is actually for Spider-Man on PS4. I don't know how I ended up seeing some sort of spoiler about it. It just happened to pop up I think it was in my YouTube feed or something like that. And I hadn't finished. I was playing the game, but I hadn't finished it yet. And I saw something that happened. I was like, no, okay, that sucks. And then I moved on. And I still ended up beating that game, which was fantastic. So was it a bit of a bummer to find out that particular spoiler? Yeah, a little bit. But I still played it anyway, and I still absolutely loved it. So that's the most recent one. Otherwise, it doesn't pain me too much. So.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been spoiled in a video game. I'm trying to think back, and I think one of the bigger like AAA style games that I've played, I usually play on day one, and I think I play it enough or fast enough to where I see the ending to that game prior to, the quote unquote spoilers getting out. So I can't remember if I've ever had one before.
Yeah, I kind of like Ronnie and Mark. I don't know. I think kind of like Ronnie, like I just live in the moment so much that I don't even catch it. Like on social media, people throw stuff out there or they ruin endings to movies. And for some reason, I don't come across it and I don't see it or I don't pay attention. And so I honestly couldn't come up with a story either of when something got spoiled. However, I did get to witness someone spoil something for my wife. And it was very funny because I knew, I knew the spoiler, not because I had seen the movie. It was one of the Harry Potter movies where someone dies. And I had, when the books originally came out, I never thought I was going to buy the books or read the books. I knew I was going to eventually watch the movies, but I wanted to know so badly what happened that I read the Spark Notes or the Wikipedia. I found something online where I pretty much got the very detailed summary of what happens, and I read all 7 books in a matter of a couple days so I could find out what happened because I really wanted to know. Well, anyways, when the movies came out, we were riding to the movie theater with a couple that had read the books, and they were kind of like our Harry Potter movie buddies, and we would go, and one of them was just kind of conversing about the movies, the past movies, and then she, for a moment, kind of jumped ahead, and in the moment of kind of talking about leading to kind of not wanting to spoil books ahead or movies ahead, she actually spoiled who died in the movie we were about to watch or we were going to watch next. And all of a sudden I was just like, and I was like, maybe Mindy won't catch it. Maybe Mindy won't catch it. And Mindy just looked at me in the back seat like this face, death stare. And then our friend's husband, he was like, "You just spoiled the movie." and I was just like, "It's all right. I already knew, but now Mindy knows." And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot that you didn't know," or she just got to talking about it because she knew her husband and that she knew that they had read the books and stuff. So that was the only time.
Yeah, when that kind of stuff is spoiled, I mean, things like that are going to happen because people like to talk about the movie or the book in whatever way. And when stuff like that is spoiled, especially like going back to the village, when you know something's going to happen like that, the experience for the movie is going to be totally different for you because you are focusing on a particular part or particular person more than you think you would or you actually would if you never knew about that spoiler. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, I can see
for
that.
Sure. If it's the same spoiler I'm thinking of, the particular Harry Potter one, where that particular person died.
Right.
I remember, and you would absolutely hate this, Patrick. I remember when that came out, specifically when that book came out, people were making YouTube videos of people, because a lot of times, there were people waiting in huge lines to buy the book. And there were videos of people filming themselves running up to the lines and yelling out the spoiler and then running away. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That
evil people.
That happened with the last couple books of Harry Potter. It just got so huge that the books, this is before some of the movies had come out, and people would do that in the last couple books with various spoilers. It was awful. That's not cool. We're talking about how we deal with spoilers and how we feel about spoilers, but if someone just spoils something just to mess with people, I know it's just a movie, I know it's just a book, but when you're doing that,
that's trolling.
That's trolling. That's heartless in my opinion. I know it's, we're not talking about saving, starving kids and curing cancer and, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal, but I know Patrick understands that, even though he's hardcore about spoilers. When it comes down to it, he's not going to I don't know, hit someone with a car like I would over spoilers, you know. So
Now that's a little extreme.
Just a
I
little.
would never do that.
I
never.
feel like you definitely would.
But I don't know.
But I'm not sure. I say that.
Patrick's
So
like,
it
I
comes
feel like
down to
I'd
it.
think about it.
It might cross my mind. SHPLIG at Dopalicious said, spoilers suck. I try to avoid media in regards to them. Minor spoilers are okay after some time, but you should never spoil major spoilers or major things, period. I had a podcast spoil Heavy Rain for me. Instantly unsubbed, and they're still dead to me. I don't know if you guys played Heavy Rain.
So yeah, I actually was thinking about Heavy Rain. So
That's a good one.
Ronnie, Heavy Rain is just like one of those. If you've ever played like the Walking Dead games, it's pretty much where you choose. You like go through a scene and you have choices.
Yeah, I did play that Walking Dead game for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And the Heavy Rain wasn't spoiled for me, but that was one of the opening scene of Heavy Rain. Being a dad in that, just like, it was just like one of those scenes where I'm like, man, if that was spoiled for me, I don't think it would have been as impactful for me if I just experienced it for myself.
Yeah, what's funny with Heavy Rain for me, I had actually, again, when I never thought I was going to play the game or buy the game, I think I didn't have a PS3 and I didn't see a PS3 coming in my future. I had read it on Wikipedia about the story. And then eventually when I got a PS3 and then down the road I bought the game and I played it and, the twists and turns came and I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And oh my goodness, I can't believe, I still had the rush. I still had the surprise. Like, again, I'm very thankful for my dementia. It doesn't always work out, but when it comes to spoilers, it usually does work out. Mike BC on Twitter said, biggest spoiler I ever had was the Yoda Dooku fight in episode 2 of Star Wars. Knew it back and forth by the time I saw the movie on vacation that summer in this little podunk theater that hadn't managed to get the movie yet. They all started laughing, but I knew what was coming.
What was the spoiler?
Oh,
just the fight?
Just Yoda fight. I think the big spoiler was Yoda actually fighting. Like, before episode 2 of Star Wars, Yoda had always been the old guy with the little cane and,
yeah, okay, I get
The
that.
force you have, yes.
and just, all that jazz. But once he started jumping around like a little chihuahua, I remember watching that in the theaters and we went nuts.
Yeah, that was awesome.
When Yoda got out his lightsaber and just started hopping around like...
he was everywhere.
He was everywhere. It was like a chihuahua on crack. It was crazy.
Like Cisco on crack.
Yeah, Cisco. We could use a more personal example. So for the times that you don't want spoilers, and this is probably more for Patrick than for the rest of us. How do you go about avoiding spoilers? What are your tips, Patrick, for those times when you don't want to know what's going on, when you want to avoid them spoilers? What do you suggest for people to do? Or what do you do?
So what I do about spoilers, I did this with Infinity War last year, is, I get on Twitter and there's this setting where you can actually block or mute certain words that you choose. So I went in there and I blocked like Infinity War, I blocked Iron Man, I blocked Death, I blocked all these things that I thought was going to happen. And I got like a little help just searching for Google, and searching on Google and saying, hey, what are the keywords I can block? Because other people were doing this too. So I just copied that and I put that into Twitter. So my Twitter feed would be anything but Infinity War. So nothing will be spoiled because I wasn't seeing it on the opening night. I was seeing it like that weekend, but it wasn't going to be opening night. I don't want to get spoiled accidentally. So that's what I did regarding spoilers. I also do like the old. Have you ever seen that Jimmy Fallon baseball movie where he's in the restaurant with Drew Barrymore's character,
Fever Pitch,
and Fever Pitch, and he likes to watch like every single game. And if he's out, he'll tape it and then come back and watch it. And he was out to dinner one night and someone was talking about the game and he had just eaten lobsters and his hands were all like dirty, and he didn't want to hear, so he all of a sudden he just started yelling la 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 la. I've done that before.
That's special.
I believe that.
Yeah. So I've done those. Those are the couple things that I've done before to avoid spoilers.
All right. Well, Ash Ingram on the Discord, she said, I only have an issue with spoilers if it's a big one, like a character dies, and it's a show or a movie that I have invested in and love. I actually had Infinity War's ending spoiled for me by a guy at work. Boo, guy at work. You stink.
Fired.
And that was...
He's worse than Florida Man.
He is. And that was a bummer. I usually try to avoid social media in case things are spoiled for me, but sometimes it doesn't help. I would say for me, to this point, I've never been spoiled through social media. Like, I don't go looking for it, and I also don't do what Patrick mentioned. I've heard of people doing that, but I've never gone so far as to like put a list of words to avoid. But overall, I kind of feel like social media at this point is so like to the max, to where there's like such a constant flow that even if a spoiler goes by my news feed or whatever, I'm going to miss it as long as I'm not looking for it. There's so much information that goes by that none of it really etches into my mind. So I just tend to forget most stuff. So that's been my experience. Bluemanrule at Lastberry, I think. Yeah, Lastberry, that looks right. At Lastberry on Twitter said, I try to avoid spoiling or being spoiled as much as possible. I don't understand folks who get joy out of spoiling stuff. It's a deflating experience. We're with you, brother, on that. He said, speaking about with others who have seen, it is how I avoid spoiling it for those who haven't. Just a courtesy check of, have you seen? ? Makes a big difference. So make sure to, in conversation, when you're with a mixed group of people, just say, hey, have you guys all seen Endgame? And if one person says no, you say, get out. I need to talk about Endgame with my friends that are cool. Unlike
Get
you.
out.
Get out. Scum.
You know how deflating that is when you want to talk about something and someone doesn't want you to talk about that? I mean, that must be, Ronnie, what you feel like every day when we
That was
have lunch.
every single day at lunch.
Patrick, what do you want to talk about? Not that.
Nothing.
Nope. Not that. Spoilers.
We were talking about the weather and everything.
There's
Yeah.
even been times when I've been talking to Patrick. We've been playing a game or hanging out, and I'm like, so what's been going on this week? He's like, you'll have to wait for the show. And I'm like, are you serious? You're not going to spoil it for me? Like, you want to do that magic moment where I'm going to give a genuine reaction to what you have to say? It's just silly. So, now that we've talked a little bit about how we avoid spoilers, when is it actually okay to spoil things?
Never.
Never.
No.
Never, ever.
You have to. There comes a point where there is a, time has to have passed. Like if you're talking about, if you're talking to an adult, say you're talking to another 30, 40-year-old person, and you're talking about the original Star Wars, I think there should be a point where you don't need to spoil those things. But if you're talking about Star Wars with maybe a 9-year-old, that's because one of the Star Wars, that's one of the biggest moments in Star Wars is in Empire Strikes Back, and seeing those videos, there's a video. I don't know if we've discussed this before, of kids reacting to Empire Strikes Back for the first time.
We haven't discussed it, but I've also seen those videos.
Yeah, that's cool. They just their jaw just drops, and they look at their parents like, "Oh my gosh, was that serious? Is that really what's going on?" I mean, it all depends on the certain situation. If you give permission, because my wife, she doesn't care about spoilers. She was like, what happens in the end? And that's all she really wants to know about, because she cares about the journey more than the actual ending to a movie. She wants to know, is it going to be a sad ending? Is it going to be a good ending? Does anyone die in this one? She asks those questions. So it really depends on who you are talking to.
See, that's what I was talking about earlier, was the idea that a lot of spoilers are so ingrained in pop culture that it's kind of hard to avoid them. Now, granted, there are kids and people that have never seen Star Wars before, and we're kind of surprised. But for the most part, like that whole spoiler about that particular scene in Empire Strikes Back.
Now, are there 9-year-old kids listening to this right now? Is that what?
I don't know. Are there?
You never know.
I don't have those
I
numbers.
don't think so, but you never know.
Okay, if listener right now, if your 9-year-old kid is listening, plug their ears. Luke,
And that's all you need.
I am your father.
Oh no, he said it! He said the
No! Come on, that is so ingrained in pop culture at this point.
It is.
Anyone
yeah,
who's listening to this, if you don't know really, we gave a spoiler, but if you haven't seen the movies, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? Who's Luke?
I would be willing to bet that people have heard that and not ever seen the movies.
Yeah, they have
just
no idea.
in like pop
It's
culture.
just- yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But and that's actually one of the, and I'm not sure if we're gonna go into this at a later point, but that's one
La
of
la
those.
la 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 la.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the fact that that's like, to me, that's one of the most defining spoilers that I've ever, I guess, experienced.
Spoilers, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We're almost there. We're on
and-
the cusp.
But well, I guess I'll save that for when we actually get to that point. So, but I digress.
So Patrick says never. I'll go ahead and share mine real quick because mine is simple. If it's an antique, you can spoil it. The statute of limitations, if it's 25 years or older, should be dropped. But I will say in this day and age, especially with video games, there are so many video games being remade that I can see where you could say, hey, it might be better not to spoil some games that could possibly be remade. Like Conker's Bad Fur Day, you can spoil that. I don't think anybody's ever going to remake that. But
Well,
like
Rare has
I
that
don't
on
think
their
anyone's
list.
playing that for the story anyway.
I don't think anybody. But like there, a game that I don't remember if I'm going to mention it later. I think I'll touch on it really quick, but as it pertains to this conversation, like KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars, that game could be remade someday. And there's a plot.
I hope so.
I
Me
really
too. That
hope
was a
so
great
too.
game.
That is a great game, and there's plot twists in that, and there are things that happen that, like for me, when I played that, I was just like, what? Like it just had that moment of just like, wow, that is so cool. And so I would never in a million years, even though that game right now is stuck either on iPhones or I think you can play it on cell phone and it's stuck on original Xbox. Is that where it is?
You can actually play that on Xbox One as a backwards.
Oh, that's
compatible
right. It is
thing.
backwards
Yeah.
compatible. I remember seeing that. So it's not totally stuck. If you're an Xbot, you're not stuck. But if you're a Sony pony like myself, I'm stuck. I can't play it ever again, at least at this point. But I would say overall, 25 years or older, you kind of got some free reign. But in our day and age with remakes, you do have to tread lightly sometimes.
For
Dude,
sure.
I feel like that game was way ahead of its time. Like that was such a good game.
It really was.
Like I remember playing that for the first time as a kid, and I was like, "Man, this is the coolest game I've ever played."
Yeah. In some ways, I think KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, was better than A New Hope.
I can't believe they haven't remade that game.
No, I can't
Like, that
believe
seems
it either.
like one I would have thought definitely was getting remade.
I will say one thing for, I guess, a condition in which spoiling to a degree is okay. And obviously, I don't have any of these, but children. So, if a parent wants to know about the content of a movie, like what's in it, what is the context for that? I think that's a situation where you can spoil it a little bit. And try to give some content hints. But obviously I don't have kids, but I think that's kind of a line there. Like, okay, this is going to happen at this point.
Right.
So.
Gotcha.
But.
Well, we have a couple people that I just want to mention real quick before we get to the final part where we talk about our spoilers that impacted us. We have one, Jason, at Fight. I don't know how to pronounce this. Fightius. Phaetosios. I'm having a stroke right now.
Anemone.
I'm having a stroke.
Anemone.
Help me, Jesus. He had this to say. He said, as long as you warn someone, minor and medium spoilers are okay. You shouldn't spoil major spoilers, ever. Some big twists and spoilers that should never be spoiled are things like Knights of the Old Republic. Agreed. Empire Strikes Back. Agree to disagree. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops, heaps. And Fight Club.
Oh yeah, that's another big one.
Now Fight
that is a good
Club.
one.
Fight Club is approaching the 25th anniversary, but I would say that there are.
25 years.
Wait,
That's
it was 99. So sorry, we're still 4 years away from. Yeah,
but still, I can't believe it's that old.
yeah, it's at its. This is its 20th year right now. So I would say in 5 years it's technically entering its antique stage, but at the same time that movie is so like that has such a plot twist that it's like, you know what? That's just not worth it. Like that's a game that I think it's such a good spoiler that I would rather just talk about it with people that have seen it. So the other person that I want to mention is KenL, my buddy from Pittsburgh, on the Discord. He had a very well thought out spoiler
He had
plan.
a novel.
Yeah, he has a novel that I will run through really quick, but he really has thought through some of this. So Ken said this: spoilers are a weird thing. I have rules pertaining to spoilers that I like to have for my life in hopes to not be spoiled by things that they are not blanket rules. You have to figure these rules pertain to social media, podcasting, and YouTube. You have to know your audience. If podcasting, making a video, titling things correctly, and or address them well before spoilers is a must. If you are the potential bringer of the spoiler, where you can ask the person, you should be responsible and courteous enough to ask where they are at in the series or the game. And have you seen such and such a movie yet? I'm not seeking out a 5-year-old to give them Star Wars 4 through 6 and saying Vader is Luke's dad as I'm handing them the collection. Typically, if you don't want something spoiled, it's on you to consume the product as soon as possible upon release of said product. When it comes to the major moments such as sports and wrestling or major mainstream TV shows, i.e. Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, reality TV such as The Bachelor or Survivor, they are live reaction media. You cannot expect a spoiler warning. It is your duty, if you do not want to be spoiled, to either watch live or go on social media blackout. I know if I cannot watch these live, I will tell friends I talk to about it that I am not watching live. I'll tell you when I get caught up on them. If there's a highly anticipated movie, I will do my best to see it opening weekend. If not, within a few weeks. People should, within those first few weeks, be courteous enough to not say who died in the latest Marvel movie. My preference is major plot and story points not be talked about openly without a spoiler tag until 2 months after home video release. That's very specific. The thought is the time in the theater plus 2 months of rental or demand streaming time should be more than enough if you really cared about the movie. Straight to streaming shows are tough. I say you should average one episode every 4 days for a few seasons for an hour-long show and every other day for a half-hour show. Are you still with me? If you don't want them spoiled. That might be...
No, I'm not.
That might even be generous.
I forgot what we were talking about.
There are people that will binge a season in less than a day, so that ratio seems fair. Then there's video games. Interactive media is so difficult because everyone plays at their own pace. One guy could have 50 hours into a game and has been exploring or doing mini games while another plays straight story, beats the game, and puts it down under 20 hours. I feel 6 months. You have 6 months to talk openly about a game without a spoiler tag.
There's a lot in there.
There is a lot in there. I love how specific.
That's pretty thorough.
I had to read all that because I love how specific he is.
It's very complicated. I mean, it sounds like he's got some sort of a system.
He does.
That works for him. Yeah, I mean, like it all depends. There's a lot of variables in every situation about what can be spoiled. I mean, like he had mentioned Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones it's reaching the end of its whole series.
Yeah,
and this like. Whoops!
Spoilers. Siri's trying to spoil
Siri
Game
wanted
of Thrones.
to talk to me. So yeah, I mean, like spoiling that series is gonna be. I mean, that's gonna be hard because people are gonna want to talk about that. I mean, and that's gonna be one of those things where it's live, not necessarily live, but it's gonna be Sunday night. Like people are gonna get together and they're gonna want to watch it as a group. Some people are going to want to watch it alone and then want to talk about it. It's one of those shows that you talk about because there's always a cliffhanger at each episode.
I feel like you cannot expect with a show like Game of Thrones to not be spoiled if you don't almost watch it immediately. Like, it's
one of those shows,
it's
sure.
one of those things where you can't you can't expect somebody to not spoil it for you because that show is just crazy popular and people want to talk about it immediately right after the showing.
Yeah, I mean, like once I think it's on at like 9 or 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and once it's over, it's all over social media. So that's one of those shows you got to go on blackout or watch it as soon as it airs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the water cooler now. I mean, when people want to talk about it, a lot of people, they just can't go out in the streets and just be like, hey, did you watch Game of Thrones today? Let's talk about it. That's what Facebook, that's what Twitter, those internet places are where we talk about the shows. So you just got to go on blackout with those kind of things, I think. Live TV, shows, sporting events. There's just no way you can expect people to be like, hey, don't talk about it. I need to watch the Super Bowl. I'll watch it tomorrow or next week. So, all right. So let's jump into spoilers that impacted us. We're going to kind of end things out by talking about, just the impactful things that have happened that people consider spoilers. As I said before, we will not be spoiling anything in detail, so no worries. We will be just giving enough info to maybe get you interested in experiencing the movie or video game itself, or just kind of just share enough so that we can share how it impacted us. So let's start with movies. Are there any movies that you want to make a shout out to, or Mark already alluded to Empire Strikes Back. We kind of discussed that, but if you want to share, Mark, about like how that impacted you, or whatever you guys want to throw out there, throw it out.
Well, I mean, that particular spoiler basically changes the entire trajectory of the series, the whole Star Wars Empire Strikes Back thing. It basically informs the next movie, and also makes you completely rethink episode 4. And so it was interesting. I was actually watching or listening to an interview with Mark Hamill, and he was basically talking about they had a completely different sequence written before they actually went to film it. It was supposed to be a completely different scenario. And then one of the, I think it was the actual director, which I believe his name is Lawrence Kasdan, he came in and talked to Mark Hamill, and he's like, listen, this is what's happening. And he handed him the copy of that page. It was a different page from what was in the initial script. And he's like, are you serious? Is this true? He said, yeah, it's true. I know it, George knows it, and now you know it. So if this gets out, we know it was you. And so...
No pressure.
And, yeah. So this was a big hush-hush secret that basically informs the entire rest of the story, and even after into 7, 8, and 9. So to witness something like that, it's pretty much one of the biggest plot twists you could ever have in a movie, and that basically was part of my love for Star Wars. So definitely impacted me, for sure.
I don't really think I ever had one like that really affected me. I mean, I know it's because of the general way I look at that. I don't remember the first time I ever saw that Empire Strikes Back scene. I know I've seen it like a ton, but I guess I don't recall. I'm too young to really comprehend like something of that magnitude, I think, in that series. But no, I do not have one that comes to memory right away.
I don't know if I have any movie that has really impacted me per se. There have been plenty of movies where it has imprinted on in my love for certain movies, like the twists in Usual Suspects. It's one of the biggest twists that I can remember. Like if I go back and rewatch that, and I've done it before, like the entire movie is a little slow. But the ending so makes up for the rest of the movie. And I think that goes along the lines of a lot of movies. Like, the movie could be terrible, but if the ending is like a huge twist, something you never saw coming, it can really make the movie. And Usual Suspects for me was one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that for the most part, big spoilers, big twists in movies, like, in the grand scheme of things, didn't really impact my life. Like, I like Ronnie. I don't remember, like, when I first watched Empire Strikes Back and, Vader said that infamous line, and I remember watching it, but I don't remember it hitting me like, whoa, that's crazy. But there's still, like, for me, like the mid-90s to the early 2000s, there are a number of movies that were just really awesome to experience for the first time, like to just get hit by that twist, that turn. I would say overall that when movies do that, when any media does that, this the whole idea of, like, things aren't always what they appear to be. That whole idea is, like, reinforced through them. One movie that I really like is the movie called Memento. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
Christopher Nolan
movie. Guy Pearce plays a character. If you haven't seen Memento, I am not going to spoil it. I do want to share just, like, very little bit of, like, the synopsis to kind of give you wet your taste buds, but you need to watch this movie. I think it's a late 90s movie, if I remember right.
Before you go into it, how much are you going to be talking about this? Because you see the end of the movie is the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to... I was just going to talk about the fact that the movie is filmed in such a unique way because you see the end of the movie at the beginning, and then each scene after is the scene before. So the whole movie plays backwards. You play as... You don't play. That's not a video game. The principal character is a man named Leonard who has permanent short-term memory loss. So it's kind of your way of seeing, it's like the only way you could see his life through his eyes is by watching the movie backwards because you have no recollection of what happened before, just kind of like he doesn't have it because he has short-term memory loss. Like in the movie, he uses tattoos, he uses photos, note-taking to guide his reality. And throughout the whole movie, he's searching for his wife's killer. And it's amazing. Like you get to the end of the movie and you're like, oh my gosh. What did I just watch? Like, I remember watching it with my wife and just like, we got to watch this again. And it was just such a unique way to share a story. Like, it was so cool.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan, like, he has a knack for telling that type of a story. Kind of like, not so much like M. Night Shyamalan, but the way that he weaves the particular twists in such a way, like, the honorable mention for me, of course, being a Batman fan, is The Dark Knight. I remember the first time I went and saw The Dark Knight in an IMAX theater. I think it was in like Chicago or something like that. And I remember watching that and just being enthralled the whole time with the way that screenplay was just done so well. And each turn and twist, especially with like the Joker's character, you just never knew what was going to happen next, and it kept you on your toes. And so that movie was a ride for me. It was a whole spoilerific kind of thing. So, I mean, Christopher Nolan, dude is awesome.
Yeah, he totally is. Some of the other movies that, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have watched The Matrix, but I really, I don't think this is a major spoiler, but when in of course, Patrick can edit this out if it is, but I mean, it's revealed within the first half of the movie. But when you are first introduced to the idea that people are living in a computer, like when I watched that movie the first time and they revealed that they were hooked up to a large computer and they were slaves to AI that had taken over the world and all that jazz, that blew my mind. Like, I remember watching that my senior year in high school, and I was like, wait, what? And just the whole journey of the one and everything that went into that was amazing. And Patrick mentioned The Usual Suspects, Fight Club. If you have not seen these movies, please do yourself a favor, go watch these movies because they are timeless classics for sure. How about video games? Do you guys have any video games that got your attention when you played them, that caught you by surprise, impacted you in any way?
The one that comes to mind right away is The Last of Us. When the Last of Us game was announced, they had this whole direction. It's going to be this zombie-filled game where you're living in a post-apocalyptic world, and the opening scene to this game they had not shown in any of the trailers or anything of previews. No scenes for this trailer or for this opening scene was ever shown. So when you start the game, you're like, "What is happening?" It's unlike unlike any other opening of a game I have ever I've ever experienced. And as a dad, it was at the time. I first time I played it, I was a dad. And the main character is, he's a dad. So, and seeing the opening scene, it really had a huge impact on me. And it was one of those scenes like I don't ever want to have to, I don't want to play again. But I play it, to my own wishes. You know what I mean? Like, because it's such a good opening scene.
Anytime there's a huge twist in a game where the lives of people are impacted, where just all of a sudden you're heading down one path and that path is redirected, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I thought I was going one way and now I'm going another. I've had that with a number of games, like in Final Fantasy. This game is pretty old, but at the same time, I'm not going to go into too great detail. But I remember sitting on our Blue Lazy Boy playing Final Fantasy VII when a principal character their path is completely changed. Some would say it's stopped. However you want to look at it. I don't know. It's just
he's got his tap dancing shoes on.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just. I thought it was like a dream. I thought, oh, it's not real. What direction they were taking me in the game, and it was real, and it blew me away. Like, it just was crazy. That's like that in Walking Dead season 1. Like, it totally goes down a path, and I'm just like, what? And as a dad, it's like, man, it just hits you right in the feels.
The most recent experience I had with the game, and Patrick, you're going to relate, is Red Dead Redemption. Like, so midway through that game, a lot changes. And
oh, for sure,
it goes on a path that you're like, I don't know if there's ever been a video game that like kind of goes down that path. So like it was not spoiled for me, and it was the first time I learned about it. I was like, whoa, like, what in the heck is going on? But the funny thing is I had to skirt around this thing that happens in the game with Patrick forever. It was so bad, and I think I did kind of spoil it for you one time, because I thought you were further in the game, and I was like, oh, that didn't happen yet. You're like, what? I'm like, nothing happens.
I remember that. I was like, dang it.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I felt so bad. But the game goes in just a direction that you wouldn't think, like you didn't expect, and kind of like even the endings. I actually was so into that game that I had to look up all the different types of endings. And because it's based on your decisions throughout the game, I wanted to make sure that I got the ending that I wanted to get.
Yeah, and the spoiler that you had spoiled for me, it wasn't like you had given me the end of the game.
Right.
It was in the middle of the game, and yes, it changed the direction of the game. But it's something that it was a spoiler. But it wasn't like a huge spoiler, like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, did you see that you were just like, angels took you away? Oh, were you at that part yet?
True.
It's like, what?
True, but the part that I'm talking about, like a mid-game like spoiler or whatever, it is a big surprise in the game. I think for a ton of people, if it's never been spoiled for you, they took a path in that game that I never had really considered, and it was really cool. And it wasn't cool for your character, but it was cool, just how they took a kind of a turn that I feel like most games, like, that's not something you would have happen in a game to you.
Yeah.
Well, that's like me and, oh, by the way, spoilers. I like Batman, so of course this goes along with that. So, Batman...
La, 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 la.
Obviously, I'm not going to go into details, but Batman Arkham Knight was basically just pushed as the big conclusion to the whole Arkham series, starting with Arkham Asylum, then Arkham City, and then here's Arkham Knight. And you wondered what Rocksteady was going to do to try to finish this series, and when they get to the end, you're like, whoa, did not expect that to go that way. And, you know, they did not pull their punches on that. They did something that was like, wow, they did it. They did that. And it was so unexpected. So, and I very much enjoyed it when I got to that portion, for sure.
I think, well, one of the cool things about stuff like that, like a Batman game, you're not expecting a twist. You're not expecting something to blow your mind. And when you're not expecting something like that, like sometimes when you're watching a movie, you're like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but it's going to happen. It's going to be a huge twist. What is it? But when you're playing a game like Batman Arkham Knight, you're like, I'm not really expecting something crazy to happen. But when it does, you're like, whoa, it's kind of blows your mind a little bit.
Yeah, and when it happens
Absolutely.
in, like you said, you expect it in movies, but when it happens in video games, like I remember the first time I played Metal Gear Solid, the OG on PlayStation 1, and there's a particular boss fight where you cannot beat them in a normal way, and you have to find a creative way to beat them.
Oh, yeah.
And it blew my mind. Like, I don't even remember how I understood, like, because there was no internet. There was no way for me to Google it and be like, how do I beat this boss? And I just remember figuring it out, and I just was like, games can do this? Like, you know, with most games, like on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, you just power through. You just play and play and play until you figure it out, till you beat the boss. But you could not power through this boss. You had to find a very creative way to do it, and it was amazing. And it definitely impacted me. If you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5, or not Metal Gear Solid 5, if you haven't played the original Metal Gear Solid, play it. If you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5, also play that, because there are definitely some smoke and mirrors, good stuff. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, as we said. I don't know if you guys have played Portal 1 and 2. That one's stranded on Xbox 360 and PS3. I wish they would re-release. I wish Valve would re-release it. They don't really care about their IP so much, but those games are worth going back to. Your character's relationship with a psychotic artificial intelligence called Gladys, who is hands down top 5 video game villains of all time. She is amazing. But you discover things like the cake is a lie, and you discover that potatoes have feelings also. And the mechanics you won't understand because you haven't played it.
I don't even know what that means.
I know. That's the right kind of spoilers to give you, because it makes no sense whatsoever. But the way, kind of like with Metal Gear Solid with the boss fight I was talking about earlier, like when it makes you play the game in a different way, when you have to think outside the box, like that is just so cool. Once you've done that and you've figured it out, it makes you feel like a video game superstar, whatever. Like it just makes you feel smart, and it's just really fun. So, all right, the last medium that I wanted to talk about before we wrap things up was books. Did you guys have any books? Now, books aren't really a popular thing nowadays. People prefer video games, movies. But were there any book spoilers, spoiler-free spoilers, that impacted your life that you read back in the day? Or now, if you still read?
I don't read many books. The only books that I have read are like the Da Vinci Code.
Oh, yeah.
That was filled with spoilers. Yeah. Because that's one of the cool things about like the Da Vinci Code is it's like a clue leads to another clue, leads to another clue, leads to another clue, leads to this, leads to that. And just going through that was really neat. And if I would have known the ending, it kind of would have diminished the fact of the entire story. It was one of the first books that I ever read on my own, outside of class, outside of school. So yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest spoiler book that I've ever read.
I think with Da Vinci Code, the only aspect of the Da Vinci Code I didn't appreciate was how people actually thought Dan Brown was trying to say that the spoilers and the ideas that he was conveying in that book were like he was saying they were true.
Yeah, he took a lot of like historical references, and a lot of what he was in the book was either true or they were like rumors or fabrications or things like that. And then he would just take it to the next level. It wasn't supposed to be, hey, this is real. This is a something that he did a lot of research on, and this is the story. It wasn't that. It was fiction. It was all fiction.
I think for me, probably the biggest, at least the biggest ending to a book that I was really compelled by was the ending to The Great Gatsby.
Okay.
Which
we
read in high school. I was just compelled pretty much for some reason that book just grabbed me, and the ending to it is just crazy. I recommend you read the book. I recommend you watch both versions of the movie. There was a movie that came out I want to say it was the 70s with Robert Redford playing the main character. And then, of course, there's the Leonardo DiCaprio version of The Great Gatsby, which is also phenomenal. Definitely recommend you watch those and read the book, because it's just crazy, and it's just a lot of fun and sad to read, but it's awesome.
I agree. The Great Gatsby is one of the greatest stories I think I've ever read and watched. I just enjoy The Great Gatsby. I mean, who doesn't love a 20-year-old millionaire who just throws parties all the time?
Yeah, old sport.
Yeah, I hardly ever read any books. I can never think of a scenario where I've had one spoiled for me. Like, I listen to audiobooks more often than a regular read. But I haven't had it that's really spoiled either. So,
spoiler, they find the treasure on the Curse of Oak Island.
Yeah, you don't know that?
I don't know either. But I have started watching that. I watched the latest episode a couple days ago, and I'm hooked.
Pretty awesome, isn't it?
It is awesome. Like, I'm okay with just starting now.
It's so exciting
because they do a lot of like, hey, 2 weeks ago they did this, or 2 months ago they did this, and it's kind of cool,
So that story is so interesting.
It is.
Spoilers. They still haven't found the treasure on Oak Island. Let's be honest.
What?
I know, it's ridiculous.
Spoilers, they probably will never find the treasure on Oak Island. But I can see where you're going with the anticipation of finding that. For me, the books that really impacted me, that again, I'm not going to spoil, but I will spoil the idea that they have twists and they have turns. One is Harry Potter. I read all those books, I've seen all those movies. And it's not just, we already talked about, characters dying and that kind of thing. But to me, it's not just the deaths and the shock stuff. Also, it's the relationships. Like Snape's relationship with Harry, their love-hate relationship, and how that unfolds through the 7 books is one of the greatest. I think it's one of the greatest aspects of the story. And I won't say any more than that, but I think it's just the idea that, you have people in your life that they're not always what they seem, and yet sometimes they are, and you have to take the risk to get to know them to really find out the impact they have on your life that you don't even know. So the other books that really impacted me were The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. Just everything that unfolds with that story is epic, and the characters that either go missing or die, come back, all those different things. It's just really cool, and I like it. I like it a lot. So, with that being said, do we have any? We as we again continue to wrap things up, as I said 20 minutes ago.
It could take 20 minutes to wrap something,
Before we kind of wrap things up with any final thoughts on spoilers and those kind of things. Mark, did you have any music you wanted to share with us? Spoiler-inspired music?
I have one thing before we get into Mark's music.
Oh, just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
So today, I was at work, and I had a bathroom experience that I have to share. So There's 3 stalls in the men's restroom. I was in one. The other 2 were filled by other men. At least I would assume they're men.
They were filled by other men. That's good.
Yes. So
Good to
we're all
know.
sitting in there. I'm the first one out, right? And when I exit the stall, I realize there is somebody standing there waiting for an open stall. Rather
Whoa.
than just go to another restroom, this person was standing there, and I got out the door, and they immediately went in. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of have a policy like, nope, I don't want the seat to still be warm from the last guy. Like, I'm not going right in there after somebody's been in there. I will find another way.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's 7 other bathrooms
There's a
in
ton.
the building.
And this person was waiting.
Life finds a way. Maybe they had to go really bad, and they just didn't.
Yeah, but you think
feel
that
like
they
could
would
make
then
it.
go to a different one, not wait.
As soon as I walk in and I see all 3 filled, yeah, I'm going to a different restroom.
Gone.
It takes 12 seconds to get to the next restroom.
The only scenario that I could think of is this guy had to poop so bad that he could no longer walk anywhere.
Oh, yeah, I get
Been
that.
Could have been that one, but he didn't rush in either. It was very casual.
Well, you know what? It's a free country, and he chose to stay.
He did. He did. He did.
It's a free
Sometimes
country.
I don't want to sit on
Black Friday.
Sometimes I don't want to sit on a cold seat. I like the.
Yeah, but it's the warmth from another man's rear end.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I heard myself while I was saying it. Never mind. It's no good.
Whether it's warm
Cold
or
seat.
cold, there have been countless other men's rear
Well,
ends on
that's
that
fair,
seat,
but
so,
do you want to feel the
know.
warmth? You want it to be that soon?
You don't want the proof of it.
Yeah.
The proof of it. Gross.
Proof of poop.
How did we get here?
Ronnie.
Life experience, man.
Yeah,
Ronnie brought us here.
I suppose.
No, that's all I had
suppose.
though. I thought it was a very odd choice. It kind of made me feel weird. Like I was like, man, you're gonna go right in there after me, really? Not even.
Spoilers. Ronnie
Spoilers,
doesn't-
I was just in there. You
Like
sure?
Sir, I don't know if you know this, but I just pooped in there very recently.
Spoilers. Ronnie doesn't like warm toilet
Yeah, that's
seats.
a no go.
No bueno. Can I share my music now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, as always, you can check out the Good Morning Guys morning playlist on Spotify and iTunes. Thank you, Bernabe. And so I kind of had to reach for some deep cuts here because it's kind of hard to nail these down. And I could have gone the route of just going general, but I decided to stick to the idea of, since we're talking about spoilers, I was kind of thinking about surprise or shock. Something like that. So a lot of these songs are circled around surprise or shock. And so, again, a lot of these are deep cuts. So the first one is Bruce Springsteen's Surprise, Surprise. The second one is Gordon Lightfoot's Much to My Surprise. And then the third one is Tegan and Sarah's Shock to Your System. So those may be ones you've probably never heard before. But, go take a listen to them and check out the Good Morning Guys morning playlist.
Nice.
That is all for me.
Sweet. Thank you for those contributions. So, for the 5th time, as we wrap things up, do you guys have any final...
Put the bow on it,
Put the
dang
bow
it.
on it. I'm putting like 20 bows on this baby. Do you guys have any closing thoughts, inspirational thoughts, spoilers? This is the last chance to share.
I do have one final spoiler.
Let's hear it.
Now, this one is not necessarily a spoiler for me. Not a spoiler for some. But we are coming up on Easter. And for those of you that observe Easter, and for those of you who don't, but you know that 2,000 years ago, there was a guy that existed. His name was Jesus. And what he did, he lived for, it's said to around 33 years. And what he did is he lived a humble life. And he did it all for others. And there came a time where he had died on the cross, and 3 days later, spoilers, he rose again. And when he did that, to basically show that there's more to life than life itself. There is life after death. The whole reason why, like I was thinking about this, is why he had died. He died so that we could live again. And not only in this life, but the life after this. And the reason he did that, he took our sin and made it his own. And the reason why we have pain in our lives is it's because our lives are short. He wants us to feel the pain that he had, only for us to live again. I'm not very good at talking about this kind of stuff, because I don't usually don't talk about it. But I feel like this is, Jesus rising from the dead and giving another witness of what he has done for us is one of the biggest spoilers of all time. It may be spoilers for some. And there's a lot of people out there that may or may not believe that he had rose from the dead. But that's faith. It's all about faith, and that's kind of what I believe in. And I thought I want to share that a little bit about that, since we are coming up on Easter.
That's a spoiler you can always give away.
For sure.
For sure.
You hit it right on the money, man. That is and that's been in movies. It's definitely been in a book with a capital B, the good book. And that's, the spoilers don't stop there with Christ rising from the dead. I mean, you have the last book of the Bible, Revelations, where, spoilers, God wins, and sin and death and pain and fear will not last forever, like you said. It's just a short while, and Jesus Christ gave it all so that we could have eternity of joy, not just for ourselves, but with each other and with our loved ones and with people that come from all walks of life. And thank you for sharing that, Patrick. That is truly the best way to end our spoiler talk, because that is truly the spoiler of spoilers. Well, that's all we have for this good spoiler-free morning. Feel free to leave us a positive but honest review on iTunes if you have a couple minutes to spare. Once we get 4 more reviews and or ratings, Ronnie is going to do something crazy, like maybe go into a bathroom, warm a bunch of toilets. Just throwing that out there. Maybe not.
I'm quitting.
He's like,
why are all these toilets
I'm
warm?
quitting. I hate this podcast. Well, anyways, to show your love for this podcast and see what crazy thing Ronnie will do, find us on iTunes. Give some stars. Say a nice thing about Ronnie, how pretty he is. Whatever you want to do. Also, remember, if you'd like to join in on future episodes or connect with our community, but are not sure how to do so, check out the show notes that have all of our info on the Discord server. It is free and a fun way to connect directly with us and our best pals. Our personal Twitter handles, the show's, is at the GMG Podcast. Also, you'll find our email, or you can even call us at what number, Mark?
929 GMG, guys.
That's right. Call in, leave a message, make up an intro to the show, or just ask a question. Beyond that, talk at you again next week on podcast services around the globe as we talk about our experiences, ironically, in church, religion, and with God. Alrighty then, Pat, Mark, and Ronnie J., who for the 25th week in a row has not watched the DVD copy of Superman that Pat let him borrow back in 2018. You listeners, our best friends and family, go get your good morning this week. May God bless and guide your lives as you live, work, and game.
Do svidania. Do встречи. И пока.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Patri, et Spiritus Sancti.
Amen. Hallelujah.
I couldn't even hear what you were saying. Are we still on the actual show, or are we done? I'm not sure what's happening. We should have definitely done the whole show like this. I don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah, we really missed out.
I think that our next topic after church is going to be whispers.
Whispers.
Yes.
A good morning for whispers.
Exactly.
That would be amazing.
We should do that. It's going to be the sexiest show we've ever done. It's going to be the.
I would love
it's gonna
that.
be the best.
We're gonna get an explicit tag put on that episode.
Why? I don't think you can get those just for being sexy. Yeah, it's all
you can. I promise. You can.
Speak for yourself.
I am.
I'm gonna make sure it's explicit. I'm gonna edit it so it sounds explicit. Hey, you're too loud, Mark.
Yeah, quiet it down.
Whisper laugh only. That's better.
Spoilers. Jason kills everyone.
What?
How dare you, sir?
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Jason slowly walks behind everybody and yet somehow catches everybody.
Spoilers. Freddy Krueger is actually a reanimated raisin.
How has nobody with a gun killed any of these guys?
They're impervious to bullets.
You're just supposed to go with it. How come they never make sure they're dead at the end? They just always assume that in some scenario they're dead and they never are. It doesn't matter.
Spoilers. Someone paid them to do that.
You can lop their head off and they'll still be alive. It doesn't matter. You gotta check.
Everyone in those movies is dumb.
You gotta double tap.
Spoilers. Jason Voorhees is wearing William Shatner's face. Inside out.
True story.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.